key rings, or I suppose handbag charms, or things to hang off your mobile phone, anything really. Started having a go at knitting these because my dear friend, my cleaner, had lost the key to our house and we had to get a new one cut. One of the reasons I suspect that she'd lost it is because it wasn't on any sort of tag. Now, I've got a good stack of key rings, everything from expensive handmade ones to freebies in Christmas crackers. But I thought, since Ed knows me for my knitting, I would knit her one. And I did. And I don't know if you can see this. It's a leaf from the pattern called Just a Leaf, and a little flower from a pattern for what I think the Americans call a pacifier and we would call a dummy, for a tether to hold that onto the pram or pushchair or whatever. But it made a delightful key ring, and I sewed the I-cord directly onto the key. Now, she will not be able to lose that in a hurry, I feel, and it's nice and soft in the pocket as well. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. It took me about 3/4 of an hour, including sewing it up and so on, which is my sort of knitting project. So I looked around amongst the patterns I had and the ones I could find online, and there's a whole bunch of little charms that work really well. I did the same idea of a leaf plus cherry and a different leaf pattern, a small garter leaf pattern, much quicker to knit, but I think not quite as neat as the Just a Leaf pattern. I did another one back with the Just a Leaf in a different shade of green, a more pointed version which I think looks even prettier, and with a purple flower. We've got a real thistle thing going on. Then I found a pattern for a key. Actually, I did that one first, which, whilst looking fairly like a key, and with a view to St. Valentine's Day coming up, a key to my heart, but actually the key looks much better if done in an I-cord in a much fatter yarn. Not totally a very convincing key, but fun to do. All of these are based around I-cord of one sort or another, which I enjoy knitting. I then found a little garter stitch butterfly. That works really well too. It does seem to me that all of these things look best, apart from the key, with two things dangling from the key ring. By now I've worked out that you don't need to sew the I-cord. You can pick up again from the I-cord and make your own loop. Anybody who knows me knows that I'll do anything to avoid sewing. I've got a bunch of other things. There's a tiny seashell. Very pretty, but I'm not at all sure how you'll put that onto a keyring, but I'll work it out. Little tiny bow ties, also very sweet, very nice. Don't know how they'll join on yet. Teacups, well, I know how that will join on. I need to block this first because it's curling a little bit. I shall sew the handle of the teacup around a keyring. I very much like that one. I'm going to do a bunch of those this afternoon. Hearts. I used what was called the short row garter heart. That's very nice, but really astonishingly complicated to knit for something about 1 inch square. And the final thing I've worked out so far, I spotted a pattern. I did this one from a pattern. Most of the others I've worked out from a photograph. A little ice cream cone, not sewn up yet, but I think that will go very nicely. That's a loop for the keyring. I think that will be very nice. All of these are destined for charity stall sales.